According to Matt Piscatella, in the Kind of Funny podcast that took place this year, a few months earlier, 30% of gamers are not going to buy games. Okay? This number is what we're going to focus on in this video for at least the most part. 30% of gamers will not buy a game. Their main source of gaming are the free to play titles and a plethora of them actually that exist that is going to occupy their time. This demographics, this metrics, if there's any reason that this number should go up, meaning if there are more free to play games that are on the market, you can see where a lot of those developers that are asking $80 are living in Delulu land. Now, there are people that are going to play, the games that they're asking for, because if you look at other metrics, you'll notice that there's at least 4% of gamers who would more than likely buy one game every month, and they will spend up to, $700, $800, $1,000 a year on just their video games. This particular number of gamers, I think, are the ones that companies like Nintendo, Xbox, and whoever Rockstar are targeting to basically spend a lot of money on their titles. So when you look at these two percentages, you can say, okay, what's going on with the other? I think, 12, 16%, however Matt Piscatella put it, that number is, say, some people who are going to buy maybe one game, I think it's like 12% or so, will buy one game, every so often. So one game every 2 months. So these guys are spending, $100 to $120, in terms of brand new games. Then, I think the major coalition and whoever is left over is probably over there buying old titles, maybe buying things on discount in their local marketplaces. And the number of money that, the number in terms of monies that they spend is not necessarily, easily accounted for. Now, you're probably wondering why I took the time to even bother with this particular demographic in terms of the games. And it's simply because I saw this particular post here done by Synth Potato, and I thought, man, this is definitely something that, I think we probably need to go ahead and look at. He made a post and said, this 2025, games, these 2025 games all cost $50. He put up Mafia, The Old Country, Expedition 33, Oblivion Remaster, and Split Fiction. And honestly, from the three of them that are already out, we've seen some really impressive numbers. Expedition 33 recently clocked 2 million in sales. Split Fiction recently clocked, according to the reports, 4 million in sales. And Oblivion Remaster, I think that one's going to basically do some interesting stuff in terms of it. But the numbers that we have in terms of concurrent gamers were, I think, close to around 200,000 on Steam. And then, think about people who subscribe to Game Pass, which kind of also makes the numbers kind of weird. But at the end of the day, it's actually really interesting when you think about it. Now, when you go ahead and kind of assess what's going on, I think the losers here who have to really eat this market reality are those who are going to be asking and building their business model on the full price games. Because one thing that really makes it very funny is a lot of people have made some really weird statements. They've taken some stances that they can never defend. Only walking back from those stances is what's going to help them. For instance, they've said things like, oh, people who use Game Pass are poor, Rent Pass, Welfare Pass. Those people don't support the devs. All they want to do is sit there and just subscribe to Game Pass. But in reality, there are 30%, a huge chunk of gamers who aren't buying any games at all. Now, they may spend on microtransactions or may not spend on microtransactions, but that's a very tall order to think that these folk are going to basically go ahead and, all be spending money on microtransactions. Some of them aren't going to do that. It's usually those people who may be buying games in these categories who may be playing, say, some of these either free-to-play games or maybe, live service games that would, in some instances, I think they'll be more than likely to put money into these games. Some people put money into the HoYoverse. Some people put money into Fortnite. Some people put money into different, titles, Genshin Impact and all these other games. So you can probably say that there's a spending that can happen from this particular category. And this category that's over here ain't doing jack squat, nor do they want to give you any money if you are a publisher asking them to come there and play your game. Now, Xbox, on the other hand, has positioned itself in a very interesting way. It has a series, and I think a very good mix of these kinds of games, $40, $50, right? Then it has the $80, $90, $100 titles as well, too. And then it also has another means of also selling its games at just full blown price, regardless of what it is, so that the market can go ahead and still create pressure and see, yo, what's going on out here? I don't think that Xbox is, in my opinion, anyways, interested in discounting their games too much. Maybe they'll do a sale once in a while. I mean, they're just establishing kind of themselves with a better cadence here on the PlayStation Store. So you might see an Xbox publisher event sale or a PlayStation store-wide sale, and you might get a discount. But they are interested in keeping that market pressure here and keeping the competition going and suffocating and basically closing out monies that could have gone to PlayStation titles. For instance, look at, in terms of new games, where do you see 3 Xbox games? You see them in the top 6, right? If we look through the best-selling category. If you go all the way down and look through the top 12, you'll see another Xbox games here in terms of best-selling. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is apparently one of the best sellers in this time. This is just weird to me. I don't know what it is. It's either people aren't buying these games fast enough so that, they'll make their way up there, or maybe people have been waiting for a game like this, right? Now, the crazy thing is, if you go and look through other games that are in this category as well, Days Gone Remastered is basically asking the same amount of money from you for Oblivion. So there is some kind of a market pressure there. If you're somebody who thinks my playtime is going to be interesting, I'm going to play this game longer and all that, you're probably going to be better off playing an RPG like Oblivion in that regard. Now, they're in two different genres, I know, but I'm just pointing out that this is a, reality there. But I wanted to go ahead and look for, in terms of, these new games that just came out. And, you can't really call MLB The Show a new game, but I would love to see where it stands in this particular, conversation, because a game like it is going to be receiving, severe market pressure from, Xbox and Xbox games. In fact, any PlayStation game is going to be receiving such, market pressure at the end of the day. And I think hedging yourself in business right now is the way to go. So Xbox realizes that majority of gamers don't usually buy games brand new. Yes, you see games who do, 6-7 million units. In the case of Monster Hunter Wilds, I think that's going to be a 10 million unit game. By the time we hear more, it's probably going to be much more than 10 million anyways. I think by now we're looking at 10 million. But these are games that usually have a very huge following, established names, and so on and so forth. But other games that are coming out, we're seeing 1 million, we're seeing 2 million, in some cases 4 million, like Split Fiction, which the game apparently just did very well. And so these are some of the things that you have to go ahead and consider when it is that, you're looking at things. So what a business proposition needs to look like is being able to accommodate that 16% of gamers that will buy your games or will frequently buy more games, even though more and more games continue to come out, and they still have to choose, right? They still have to say, well, I'm not going to buy this game, I'm going to buy that game, and I'll probably buy this other game this month. So what do you do for gamers like that? Well, you give them what I think is an option for them to still be able to, sample that game or dive into that game as a platform. And what I mean by that is each game as it stands is a platform. The moment you play the game, right, all that is necessary is just to get you to be invested. Once you're invested, then it's almost a guarantee that you're buying that game. The second part, too, is to also create options for that 30% as well. That 30% wasn't going to buy your game in the first place. So how do you make your games look attractive to them? You show them a really low-cost option, because these are the folk that are going to get a $1 Game Pass, subscription and play the game and drop it and be gone. However, it's way more money than $0 that they weren't going to give you anyways. You feel me? Now, behold, if, say, they do the $1 thing, they walk up in here and they're like, yo, 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 yo. Then you now got them in your own location and you've done the Chick-fil-A thing, which is where, like I said, Chick-fil-A at some point in their business were very aggressive in giving free chicken sandwich cards. That was designed to bring people to their stores. And once you made your way to the store, all that you needed was for somebody to greet you like you walked into a 5-star restaurant and tell you, my pleasure. I'm happy to serve you and treat you, who came to get a free sandwich, like you came in there to buy dinner for everybody and you're coming back. So when you think about the gaming market, I think this is where all the publishers are more than likely going to start leaning. And if they don't, they're going to see their own users leaving. In fact, right now, there seems like there's some kind of an apocalypse that it may be going on within the PlayStation camp. I've been reading this particular PlayStation blog, and what I've been seeing has been slightly shocking in some instances, to basically see how people are talking about the quality on Game Pass. And then some in the comments responding and saying, yeah, I've made the move. I'm making my move out of the PlayStation ecosystem. Or I have PlayStation and I also have Xbox, and I haven't touched my PlayStation in a while because there's nothing exciting there. People will gravitate towards that. That's how Chick-fil-A grew by leaps and bounds. People don't really realize that, but this is literally what I think was a big piece of their marketing. They had great service. They had everything. They were already solid. They just needed a way to get people into the ecosystem, and that was it. And I think Xbox has positioned itself now to get people into its ecosystem, and all that's left is to basically convert or give those people a reason to stay. Thanks for watching the video. Talk to me in the comment section. Appreciate y'all so much. Peace out.